Hello designers, the purpose of this video is to walk you through criterion B of the It's Your Time unit. Crit B is just a short way of saying the second stage of design, developing ideas. And that's all you're doing in this stage is you're coming up with ideas and you're not creating anything, you're not building anything. That's till later. All right, so you need to take a break from Illustrator. The drawing tools you're going to be using for this stage are a pencil and paper, some cardboard, maybe a ruler, that would be nice, maybe some glue and some tape. I'll explain, okay? So, for your information, in this stage of the project, you are required to identify the success criteria, also known as design specifications, sometimes called technical specifications or tech specs, and develop some conceptual designs for your clock. Conceptual meaning they don't have to be perfect. Conceptual meaning you don't have to consider yourself to be a good drawer or good artistic to do a good artist to do well in this. Okay, at the top you'll notice there's a point. There's a bold statement that tells you that the summative assignment is due on April 24th. Basically, that works out to one class per task. There are 7 tasks, and you should be able to complete each one within a half an hour. Okay, so task number 1, design specifications. If you want to hit a target, you have to know where to aim, and the design specifications are the target that we aim for when we create anything. Every product in our possession, whether it be the shoes we wear or the music device we own, was built to design specifications. From the designer's perspective, that's you and me we're talking about, the design specifications clearly identify the features and or constraints and or success criteria of the product you're going to design. So your task is to develop a list of design specifications for the solution. In this case, the solution is a clock. Review the challenge from Crit A and then complete the sentence stems below. The success criteria is the left column here, and one of the success criteria is we want to think about elegance. How will your clock face be simple, clever, or ingenious? What are you going to do that's different? What are you going to do that's useful to your life? What are you going to do that makes sense? Early on, we said that this clock will reflect your personality, your passions, or your pastimes. So what I'd like you to do here is, if you'd like, you could put a few notes to say, I'm really interested in this. I love books. I love Star Wars. I love running. I love being outside. I love minimalist design. I love old style design. I love puppies. Whatever. Just make some notes for yourself here. But the key thing here that I want you to do, and that's why it's highlighted in yellow, is to either put a check mark by essential or desirable. Now, does it need to be simple, clever, or ingenious? Not really, but if we look at this specifically to what this project is about, it should reflect your personality or your passions or your pastimes, in which case it would be an essential design specification. The second one is the aesthetics. How will the solution be tasteful and pleasing to look at? Well, a simple answer for that is just, are you going to paint it or are you going to stain it? If it's wood, what color of acrylic are you going to use? Does it have to be painted? Does it have to be stained? No, it doesn't. So you need to decide, is that essential or desirable? The next one is materials. What materials will you need for a solution? Well, the clock has to be made out of wood or acrylic or a combination of the two. So I've helped you out already. I've said that that's an essential. It's got to be made out of those. Some people choose to add a third media there, and you're welcome, or third medium to that, and you're welcome to add fabric or stickers or anything else you'd like. Now, this is where it gets very essential as far as the size goes. Does the solution have any measurement constraints? Well, it does. The minimum width and height of the clock is 15 by 15 millimeters. You're going to have to write that into your assignment, okay? And the reason for that is the clock hands make a sweep of about 15 millimeters. And unless you want the hands to go beyond the clock face, you're going to want to make it at least 15 by 15, which isn't very big, is it? The maximum dimensions are 800 by 400 millimeters, because that's the size of a piece of wood or acrylic that we can fit into the laser cutter. Any bigger than that, we just can't cut it, okay? And it's a pretty big piece considering the size of the clock, okay? And then the last essential design specification is the clock must include a 9 millimeter hole for the clock stem. The clock is a little black box with a stem that comes out of it where you attach the hands, and if you don't leave a 9mm hole for that stem to go through, the clock just doesn't work. That's why I've marked this one essential for you, okay? Now you have some other decisions to think about. As far as function, does the solution need to work or operate in a particular way? Well, not particularly. You've got a choice here. The clock could be wall hanging, where you design a clock that's going to hang on the wall. It's not terribly heavy. You might have a specific place in your house where you want to hang it, or maybe you want it to go on a bookshelf or on a table or on a desk, in which case it's freestanding. You decide whether that's essential or desirable. You wouldn't think clocks can be dangerous, but safety is always a concern for the designer. So will the solution be safe to build, use, and store? What are you going to do to make sure that that it doesn't fall off the floor and land on somebody's head? What are you going to do to make sure that it's assembled well? What are you going to make sure that there's no sharp corners or sharp bits that could hurt somebody? All right. And at the bottom, you've got criteria optional. Your requirement number 1, your requirement number 2. We all know what optional means, so chances are it's going to be a desirable function, not a essential specification, okay? Once we've figured out what our target is, we can start doing designs. So your task here is to come up with at least 2 feasible designs and 1 final design, ensuring that you annotate them with the key design features. So, task number 2 is to come up with design number 1. This one has to be wood. You don't necessarily have to make a clock face out of wood, but I'd like you to think about how that would influence your design, because I want you to explore all the possibilities here, okay? So on a piece of paper with a pencil, please sketch what you'd like your clock to look like, okay? One thing that you also should include is the dimensions. How big is it going to be? Because I've had conversations with students where they say, oh, I want to make this clock and it's going to be this big, or they don't even think about it, or they want to make it the size of a ping pong ball because they really like ping pong. My ping pong balls are really tiny. How are you going to fit a clock in there? Oh, I won't. So I want you to include in the sketch here the dimensions, okay? So that should be one of the essential specifications that you include here. All right, this is a Google drawing. Double click on it. Replace this placeholder with a photo of your drawing and fill this in with some bullet points. Change this to go anywhere you want it to go to make it easier for you to just point at what you're talking about, and copy and paste more of those if you need them. Okay. Sketch number 2 is task number 3. This one is a clock that you would make that's in acrylic. Okay. So just as above, you scan your second design idea, or you take a photograph of it. Make sure that you describe the key features. Make sure that you point out the essential specifications, including dimensions. And tell me what color acrylic you want to use. In the design studio, we have clear, we have white, we have yellow, we have blue, we have black, and we have red. So you've got 6 colors to choose from. All right? Tell me which one you want to use. I will, in another class, show you the shade of those colors, okay? And talk about some more options you have for that. And I won't take long doing it either. All right, task number 4 is to come up with design idea number 3. This one is optional. This is an opportunity for you to consider a third design option. It could be wood, it could be acrylic, or you might make a combination of these base materials. Maybe it's a hybrid of the other ones that you did before, okay? As before though, as a designer, taking care of your business, you need to describe the key features and also point out the essential specifications, which includes dimensions, okay? So now you've got 2 or 3 sketches, and before you move on and just go with the one that you are most excited about, let's make sure that you're doing your job as a designer. Make sure that you're hitting the success criteria, okay? So here you'll notice that I filled in the cells with yellow. That's because I want you to do some work here, okay? Here, I definitely want you to finish this sentence stem. My clock will reflect my blah, blah, blah. Explain. It reflects your passion for basketball. It reflects your ability to sleep through all your appointments. It matches your favorite meme this week. It matches a piece of poetry or scripture or a saying that your dad loves and you want to make a gift for him, something like that. Explain briefly, even in bullet points, how it's going to reflect one of these things. And then tell me, does idea number one do that? Does idea number two do that? Does idea number three that? Using this code at the top, okay? If idea number one totally meets those requirements, you put a 2 here, okay? If idea number two does it only part way, only put a 1 here. And if idea number three doesn't do it at all, well, then you'd put a 0 there, okay? The point is that you're evaluating these designs according to these things, okay? So design number two, design number three, design number one. Does it look good? Is it going to be something people will want to look at, whoever that person is, you, or whoever you're going to give the clock to? Have you decided which material you're going to use? Does it fit the size constraints? Evaluate them. Does it work as it's supposed to? Have you decided whether it'll be freestanding or wall hanging? Is it safe? Are there any problems with the design? Evaluate it. The criteria that you may have added at the bottom, include them here and evaluate them, and then just add up the numbers of the column, okay? That should give you an idea about which of the 3 designs you've made is the most feasible. So then you move on to task number 6, and you say, okay, I've looked at my 3 designs. This number is obviously higher than these 2 numbers. I like it the most anyway, so I'm going to do design number 1, 2, or 3, okay? Then we shift gears a little bit. We do something that is kind of fun and is really a good use of your time, and it's prototyping. Task number 7, final design and design specification. Based on your chosen, oh, ladies and gentlemen, I think this is wrong, and I'm going to change it for the final copy. I'm so embarrassed to do this in front of you, but I'm not going to make this tape over again. I'm not going to record this again. We've come this far. This is where you prototype it, okay? It's a great benefit to do a prototype in cardboard or paper ahead of time. It really will show you some of the problems that you might have. It really shows you some of the advantages of your design and small or large tweaks that you can make to improve it. So, based on your chosen design, create a low resolution, full scale prototype with cardboard. Low resolution means it doesn't have to be perfectly illustrated. It doesn't have to be beautiful. We're using old cereal boxes or old cardboard boxes or paper. We're using sticky tape, no special glues, all right? But it does need to be full scale. In other words, if you're making a clock that's 20 centimeters by 30 centimeters, that's the size of your prototype, okay? Using cardboard, tape, tabs, offcuts, colored pencils, etc. I love the word etc. because that means the sky's the limit here, okay? But please, it's got to be physical. It cannot be in Illustrator. Don't jump straight to Illustrator. You need to do the quick B step, okay? Then after you've made it, you can take a photo of it and include it below. Include any annotations of changes that you made or will have to make as a result of the prototyping process, okay? And you do those with callouts. Finally, here's the rubric. Maybe that shouldn't be finally, maybe that should be the first thing we look at. But notice that in the higher levels of achievement, we're developing, we're presenting detailed and clear descriptions. We're using details, okay? That's the difference here, is you're detailing your explanations here in sections like this, and you're providing details in your drawing and in your annotations, okay? That is Crit B, the summative that is due on April 24th. I am going to unpack these before each class in very short doses so that you get more nuances, and I will show you some examples of work, but for now, this is enough to get you started. Okay? Thanks. Have fun.